Hey everyone, today I'm going to tell you my story about doing an MS in the US and staying there on an H1B. So basically, as soon as I graduated from my undergrad in Bangalore, in information science, I immediately applied for universities in the US, and the one university that gave me an admit was UNC Charlotte. So I immediately jumped on the boat and got there. So I finished about it took me about a year and a half to finish my MS in Charlotte, and after I finished my MS, it took me about 6 months to find my first job. Find my first job. Now, when I got my first job, I was on OPT, which is optional practical training, which is an extension of my F1 student visa. So basically, I can work there for about 29 months, 12 months plus 17 months extension. So I took that opportunity and I worked there. And after I finished my OPT, I changed my status to H1B, and I stayed on H1B for another couple of years. Here are some reasons why being on H1B is not fun. Okay, I'm gonna list them. Okay, the first reason why I didn't like being on H1B is that it's super restrictive. I mean, if you have a H1B in the US and if you're living in the US, you have to have a job no matter what. If you don't have a job, it means you're out of status. And if you're out of status, it's not good. I mean, sure, H1B visa holders do have some leeway when it comes to not having a job. Like they have like up to 2 months to find a job, before which the USCIS will start questioning why you overstayed your visa in future attempts to come back. So you have to have a job. At the most, you can stay there for 2 months. Within 2 months, you have to find another job if you want to stay there. But if you don't want to stay there, you have to leave within 1 month. So if you want to stay there, if you're looking for a job, and if you want to change your mind, you can't do any of that. You have to have a job in order to be on an H1B visa. So the problem with having only 2 months to find a job on an H1B visa before which you have to leave is that good jobs take a lot of time to find. Now, it's not enough if you just find a job, right? You want the job in the location of your choice. For example, if you are living in Phoenix, you will want to find a job in Phoenix. It's no use if you find a job in, let's say, New York or Boston when you're living in Phoenix, Arizona. You're gonna have to have so that's the problem with this 2 month restriction. You want to find a job of your choice. The location should match, the pay should match, the culture should match. And then there are a lot of other criteria you might want to meet, like pay, work culture, the projects that you're interested in, the industry that you want to work in. All of these factors, if you want to take all these factors into account so that you are fully productive and happy being who reaches the best of his ability, then you need time to find such a job. Unfortunately, being just given 2 months of time to find a job would give you, in the best case scenario, it gives you enough time to find a good consulting gig, which in turn would send you far away. The second problem with H1B visa is that you have to work for your company. If you have that visa, you can't have a side gig, you can't do anything, you can't work on your startup, you can't have your own personal project. Well, you can have personal projects in which you're not paid, but you can't build anything that pays you if you are on a H1B visa. Now that includes creating YouTube videos and being monetized for it. Technically, that's not allowed because you're having another job, you're having another business, which you're not supposed to have on an H1B visa, because when you are on an H1B visa, your intent is to work for the company that sponsored your visa. So if you're doing anything other than working for your company, that means you're violating its terms. And of course, we all know what happens if you violate the terms of your visa. You won't get immediately deported, but when you do have to come back and when you do have to give your visa interview, you have to answer all these awkward questions that will come up eventually. And considering how bad the sentiment is against immigration in the United States, you don't want to do anything that raises question marks on your profile. The third problem I had with my H1B visa is the fact that everything else I do is linked to my visa, especially my driver's license. Now, in the US, the infrastructure is set up in such a way that you have to have a car. If you don't have a car, you are going to pay a lot of money just to get around. Even if you want to go to the grocery store, you have to spend as much money as you did at the grocery store just to get there if you are going to use Uber. And you're not going to have friends and relatives all the time over there, right? Because because you may be located in some remote area of the United States, you might be working there, and you don't have any friends or acquaintances where you live to ride you around. So transportation. So you need to have a car. You absolutely need to have a car while living in the United States, and to drive that car, you should have a driver's license, which is linked to your visa. So if your current document is going to, if your current I-797 is going to expire, your visa, your driver's license's validity lasts only up to the point your I-797 is valid. So if you're going to go get a driver's license somewhere, you are going to get it like just a year or 2 years valid driver's license. Okay, the fourth problem with the H1B visa is that it's very, very hard to file. It's going to take a lot of paperwork and a lot of precision in filling up that paperwork, that companies don't trust themselves to do it by themselves. They usually hire lawyers who charge thousands of dollars to get this paperwork prepared as precisely as possible, and then they file that. So anytime you want to have a H1B transfer or an amendment because you switch locations, then you're going to have it done in a very, very systematic manner, which costs a lot of money. This alone is a huge deterrent for many companies from hiring foreign workers like myself, because they don't want to bear the responsibility of making errors. They don't want to bear the responsibility of potentially screwing things up somewhere. So that's the reason why a lot of companies, they don't even want to bother with H1B visa holders. They, in their job descriptions itself, a lot of them just say we hire only GC and US citizens. They don't look for H1B. They don't look for foreign hires. Problem number 5 with H1B visa is the lack of mobility of jobs, which means you are stuck with the job you're sponsored for. Let's say, for example, you start out as a software engineer and you find an employer who happens to sponsor you for that job. Let's say 2 years down the line, your interests kind of shift. You no longer want to write code for a living. Instead, you want to manage a project. You want to be a scrum master. You want to manage the different tasks on the task board, and you want to coordinate other developers and how fast they get things done. Maybe you're a people person who wants to remove obstacles for other people and make things work more smoothly in your team. Okay, you can't do that. You can't do that as an H1B, because the job that you are sponsored for requires that you are a technically skilled software developer who writes code for a living. Now, you could switch jobs and have them file another petition for H1B, but remember the previous points I told you about how difficult it is to sponsor, to make an amendment, to do all the paperwork precisely. I mean, all these serve as an obstacle from you being able to switch jobs and change roles easily. Problem number 6, the green card backlog, which is quite well known. USCIS grants grants the same number of green cards to every country, but in the real world, each country has different population, especially India and China, where there are a lot of people, a lot of applicants trying to come into the US. When this is the case, your green card petition tends to get backlogged, and as of June 2018, I heard it takes as much as 30 years to get a green card if you are on an H1B, if you are an Indian citizen. I don't have 30 years I don't have 30 years in my life. I mean, I want to do other things with my life. I want to be able to start a business. I want to be able to retire. I want to be able to travel. I can't do all of that if I have my entire life set up in the US and then I'm also shackled for 30 years in this job. Okay, so those were some direct problems of the H1B visa. Now let me describe what the indirect problems are because of all these rules and problems that I described. The first problem is that all these rules and problems of the H1B visa, all of these, they basically limit your upward mobility in the United States. Now, first of all, your job is tied to your degree and whatever it is that you do. It's very, very clearly defined, and if you deviate from that definition, you are out of status. You are out of status if you don't work. You are out of status if you do some side gigs for yourself. All these are fine as long as you're only on work visa. But once you apply for a green card, your wait time increases 20-30 years. So for 20-30 years, you are shackled this way, which means you're not allowed to grow as a professional. You're not allowed to find new jobs. You're not allowed to explore your skills and be able to exploit them. You are basically shackled for decades upon decades when you're on H1B. The second problem is that this shackling is one of the reasons why it seems like all these Indian workers from India are displacing US workers. Why? Because they're not able to move forward. As an Indian, if I go to the US and find a job, I want to be promoted, I want to grow. When I grow, I leave room behind me. If I'm a software engineer and tomorrow I'm promoted as a product manager, then my position as a software engineer clears up so that somebody else can take it. It could be a local, it could be another immigrant. Doesn't matter. But I will leave some jobs behind if I have the ability to move up. Similarly, if I am able to start my own business, then I end up creating jobs. Instead, I'm shackled to my job. I'm tied up. I'm not allowed to grow on this H1B. The third indirect problem, of course, is the lack of peace of mind. I mean, when I was in the US, I couldn't think about how to do my job very well. I didn't have enough freedom to think about what else I can do with the skills I have. Instead, I had to constantly worry about my current job, when it might get over, how abruptly my project might get over, and how quickly I can find the next gig. I mean, that's all I had in my mind. The only thing I could think about is figuring out ways to stay here. I shouldn't have to live like that. I want to be able to. So there you have it. That's my rant against the H1B visa. Hope you like the video. If you do, leave some comments, hopefully some likes, and maybe I'll make some more videos about it. Bye.